Hey everyone and welcome to the video. In today's video we will be going over one of the new Fallout commanders, talking about what it does and its abilities and kind of what cards I would personally put in it or what cards go well if you were building this deck pretty much only with the commander class. So when it comes to this, there'll be nothing talked about the new cards or the potential new cards. The best way to put this is, if you got this pretty much early and only this card, what cards do you think would go well in it? How would you play it? And if so, is there any other different ways you can play this commander? So when it comes to this video, I am going to be going over the Wisemoth. The Wisemoth, for 1 black, green and a blue, you get a legendary creature, insect mutant that is a mythic. He has flying. Whenever the Wisemothman enters the battlefield or attacks, each player gets a rad counter. Whenever one or more non-land cards are milled, put a 1/1 counter on each of up to X target creatures, where X is the number of non-land cards milled this way. With this new commander, there's a new ability called Radiation, or Rads as is on the card. So to understand this card a little bit more, you need to understand Rads. So the ability Rads says, Radiation at the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, if you have any Rad counters, mill that many cards. For each non-land card milled this way, you lose 1 life and a rad counter. And oh my god, I love this ability. When I first read it, I was like, this is kind of stupid. I thought it went on you because I'm an absolute idiot. But again, it goes on your opponents. You are radiating your opponents. And I'm like, this is mill. This is mill and lose life. I love this card. I am a mill player. I have one of my favorite decks, probably my 3rd or 4th favorite deck out of like the 22 I have, is a mill deck. Absolutely love this card. So I'm so excited to talk about this deck. Plus, also you get them to lose life depending on how many cards they get rid of. Again, a really good ability. I think this is going to go so well and so good in my playstyle. Plus, if you have creatures, you get to put counters on them. Again, a really good ability. Pretty much just going, cool, I'm making you mill, you lose life, and also I get to power up a creature. This is awesome. Like, how would you not love this card? I can't wait to see the rest of this deck when it finally comes out. Plus, itself is a 3/3 with flying, so it's kind of hard to be blocked. So even if you power up the commander itself with many different ways, you attack, it gives radiation, you make people lose a life and mill cards, and you've done 3 commander damage because it wasn't blocked. This commander is absolutely hilarious. So I thought it would be a good part to talk about what the Wisemothman is. The Wisemothman is in Fallout 76 and 76 exclusive. There is 7 variations of the Mothman in general. They are kind of seen as a god-like. There's kind of 2 religions, one based on one of the moths and one based on the other moth. And really, when it comes to this, the red-eyed and the purple-eyed moth, the purple-eyed moth being the commander, their eyes really do matter when it comes to this. When it comes to the differences, there's pretty much barely any other than their eyes. The variations you can see in Fallout 76 is Mothman, Stalking Mothman, Vengeful Mothman, Glowing Mothman, Scorched Mothman, Mothman Hatchlings, and then the Wisemothman. When it comes to these, there's slight variations of what they look like and how to see them, so I'll be giving a little brief history on each one, hopefully seeing each one in the deck. So we're going to start off with Mothman in general. If you are playing Fallout 76 and you see a Mothman, they usually have their wings over their face and have like a red eye tint. When it comes to these, they are very timid creatures. If you go anywhere near them, they just disappear in a cloud of smoke, and they're not really very aggressive. I'm pretty sure if you shoot them, these ones are invulnerable and just disappear. But then we have the Stalking Mothman. Now, if I was just playing 76, I would think this is just a very aggressive, normal Mothman. But no, according to the wiki and according to the research I did, there is 2 variations of this. Both look the exact same. One has red eyes, the other also has red eyes. One hides, but one attacks or stalks you because it doesn't attack you unless you attack it first. It just follows you for a while, which would probably make most players uncomfortable and decide to shoot the shadowy creature following it and then be attacked, When it comes to the attacks, they're kind of like sonic waves or shadow evasion moves, which again, I think is a really cool thing. Would be cool if they somehow put that on a card. And now we're on to the Vengeful Mothman. The only difference for these is that they have yellow eyes or orangey eyes. These are literally the aggressive ones. They pretty much seem to be it seems to be like from timid to only attack to we are going to attack you on sight. But the only difference is the eye color. If you've seen a yellow-eyed or orange-eyed Mothman, pretty much shoot on sight or run away. They are your only two choices. These are very aggressive and will definitely attack you pretty much on sight. Then the next two are kind of very, very hard to distinguish. These, again, all the Mothman's like shape and appearance look all the same, but these ones have green eyes and have green ribs. These seem to be just in a variation of it, that if a Mothman was trapped in probably a place with high radiation, ended up having high radiation poisoning. So there is the glowing ones that are pretty much just, again, green-eyed, and are usually found in like warehouses or anything that seems to have radiation poisoning on it. And then there is the scorching or scorched ones, which again, I didn't play 76, seems to be a new kind of illness or a new variation of like a disease and stuff. So that is a glowing Mothman with this disease. Again, very difficult if you were attacked out of nowhere by either of these. Your average normal player would not be able to know if it is a glowing one or a scorching one. And then, of course, Mothmans need to produce. There is the Mothman hatchlings. These are usually seen as little black balls, but there's a mission you can do to kind of wipe them all out in a certain section and get a rare item that's a red version of them. But when hatched, they're small baby Mothman, which seems to be this is how they are pretty much born. And then depending on what happens, like if they're timid and left alone, they get red-eyed, or if you keep attacking them, they get aggressive, or again, by radiation or scorched, they end up with green eyes. This seems to be their kind of purest form, is the only way I can think of it. And then you have the card with the purple eyes, and only one with the purple eyes, and that is the Wisemoth. These are not very aggressive. It's very hard to see. I think there's only one way you can, by doing a certain mission. This is the one that one of the religions think is the purest and best one, and they call him the Wisemoth. Again, I'm not sure. I've done a little bit of research, but I'm not sure if this attacks you second you see it. But again, this seems to be pretty much the best or more powerful version, and the hardest one to see out of all the Mothman. When it comes to the commander itself, I will be breaking it down into pretty much monocolors, dual colors, tricolors, artifacts, and then lands. There's not really much to talk about here. The main part of this, in my opinion, is literally mill and proliferate. They are the things I focused on in this, because the way I seen it is if you attack, give someone a rad counter or give multiple people a rad counter, and then keep proliferating, the better. And then it's also good to mill people, because that also helps because of the second ability, which again, doesn't matter as long as a card is milled. So that's why I decided to pick. And when it came to this, I was like, I don't really know what to do. I haven't really made a video like this. So I'm going to break it down by each color. So if I was to build this deck, I would probably be looking at kind of ways to keep your commander alive, board wipes, reanimated, mill cards, ramp of course, and a variation of other cards. So when it comes to the black cards, cards that I think would be really good or kind of necessary when it comes to this are cards like Reanimate, Black Market, In Garrick's Wake, Drowned in Ichor, Vraska Betrayal Sting, and then me being the mono green player because I love mono green. This was very easy. I didn't really have to do much research. I knew half the cards from the top of my head, which I would love to have added in. So here are the green cards I would have added in this deck. Plain Wide Celebration, Karzur Ruthless Stalker, Dublin Season, The Great Henge, Evolution Sage, Hardened Scales, Unnatural Growth, Forgotten Ancient, Park High's Maverick, Rampant Rejuvenator, Contaminant Grafter, Unnatural Restoration. And then lastly out the monocolors is blue. Again, personally, I'm not a counterspell type of person. I think there is a counterspell that also let you proliferate. But again, I only ever put counterspells in if I have to, if the deck also does the thing. Like I know for a fact I have a counterspell in my Anima deck, but that's mainly because it's counter target spell, put 4 1/1 counters on target creature. So I'm like, cool, I get to counter something and stop someone doing something what they want to do, but also I get to put 4 1/1 counters on Anima and things are far cheaper. I was mainly doing it for the counter thing. The counter spell is just an additional thing, but the blue cards I would add in this deck are Thought Scour, Tasha's Hideous Laughter, Memory Erosion, Court of Cunning, Traumatize, Patient Rebuilding, Fractured Sanity, Inexorable Tide, Charm Skulker, Tezzeret's Gambit, Tekuhol Inquiry Dominus, Cut Your Losses, Jace Arcane Strategist, Meddling Canopy. When it came to the dual colours, I didn't see many. I just kind of googled it for a few, like an hour or two, and there wasn't many cards that were popping in the top of my head that would go well. But I did decide of 3 that I'm like, that would be funny or that would be a really good card for the deck. And those 3 are Merrin of Clan Nel Toth, Rolsec Apex Hybrid, Azuri Stalker of Spheres. And then the hardest ones to pick are all 3 colours. Majority of these are going to be different commanders or cards that I think would somehow, or cards that would go well in the deck. So those cards are Yarok the Descendant, Mudjolter the Gravetide, Vorus the Hunter, Zimone and Dina. But then doing my research, I was like, this is hilarious, and I seen a bunch of artifacts, so I was like, I will add artifacts in. Not putting in your Soul Rock, your Arcane Signet and stuff like that. These are artifact cards that will somehow benefit the commander in some form of way. Cards like Staff of Completion, the Ozolith, Altar of the Brood, Sword of Truth and Justice, then finally lands. I'm not going to do the generic like, oh, your dual lands and the untapped lands. These are lands with abilities, so there isn't many of them that I thought would go well in this deck. And there's only 2, and them 2 lands are Karn's Bastion, Nephilia Dawnyard. Then finally my thoughts and opinions on the commander's card itself. I love this card. I found it a bit weird that the Wisemoth was one of the face cards of the Fallout decks, but I'm so happy. The only slight change I would actually do when it comes to this commander is I don't think it should be when you mill, put a 1/1 counter on it. I think the second ability is for how much non-land permanents they mill, put a 1/1 counter, that many 1/1 counters on a creature, but that's just me. I think that might have been too overpowered because just milling someone half their deck, you're going to get a big creature. But there's cards that already kind of do that, so I don't know, I'm 50-50 on that. To be honest, I cannot wait to see what other cards are going to be put in this. I have a funny feeling that the Feral Ghouls are going to be in it. I think Nightkin are going to be in it. I think Super Mutants are also going to be in it because they are all mutated. Hopefully with some form of rad ability, because I hope if they are going to put a big thing on rads, it needs to have a medium to high amount of cards that have that ability to make this a really good and powerful deck. But as always, let me know what cards I missed. If there was any cards you think would go really good in this deck, please let me know in the comments down below. If you decide to make a deck on Moxfield or anything like that, please let me know, link it to me. I love seeing people's decks and what variations they would do different from me. While you're down there, remember to like, subscribe and follow me on all my social media. But as always, I have the previous Fallout, Is It Worth It here. I have a playlist of Is It Worth It General here, and a subscribe button here, which again, my subscriber count's going up and I'm so close to 600. I can't wait. So please subscribe, share and all of that, and I'll see you all in the next video.